Hello and welcome to Last Man Standing. I'm Dan Hollifield. I am currently trying to send a link to Chris. Um, let's see, it should have worked, but it didn't. I don't know exactly why, because I don't have the keyboard switched to this computer. That's what I get for having the same keyboard for two different computers. I have to actually turn a switch. And we'll see if this works this time. Yeah, that one looks like it actually got there. So one of these days, I'm just going to do the opening credits and come on and say hello, and then do the end credits, and that'll be the entire show. So just as a practical joke, I mean, maybe I might come in 5 minutes later and do the real show, but it's just one of those. Carol, hey, Carol Phillips, how are you doing? Um, this is one of my friends from the Larry Niven mailing list, and she is one of the most excellent ladies that you could ever hope to meet. And thank you for being here, Carol. This is an unexpected pleasure, and I hope I don't bore you too much. I have that effect on everybody, so I expect you to be snoozing here soon. And right now, I'm just vamping on as if I had a care in the world, and just um, I'll tell you one of the things that I have been doing here lately. There are several channels on YouTube that I have been binge watching. One is some very artistically bent uh, ladies and gentlemen that are building um, primitive shelters in a jungle in Southeast Asia, and they make it look like by the time they're finished, they start with a hole in the ground. By the time they're finished, it looks like Angkor Wat. I'm telling you, they're really good. Another thing is, I have discovered a new obsession that I wish I had money enough to get into, and that is canal boats from England. And these are the narrow boats are about 6 to 7 feet wide, and the wide beams are twice that, and it's like a Winnebago as a boat, basically. Oh, and here's Chris. Uh, Thank you for coming in. I'm sorry about all the. I tried to send the link 3 or 4 times, and then I realized I had never turned the keyboard to this computer as it
Hmm.
was the desktop computer. So I don't know what I did with the desktop computer. I'd have to change the
Yeah,
monitor over to get to see that. Um,
yeah. I got to look at them. Like, that's the same link.
well, Joe Dog sent those links.
Yeah. Well, Joe Dog's
Usually,
overly medicated.
usually Joe Dog will send the stupid o'clock link, and then within a few minutes, um, if he doesn't send it before I get home from work, I will go ahead and send the last man standing link.
Hmm.
I'll wait for Joe Dog to actually set up the rooms
Yeah.
for the different chats, because if I do it, I might not get all the different destination channels,
Yeah.
the different YouTube things and Facebook
Yeah.
things uh, correct, especially since he has so many, and
Yeah.
I just have the few for me to keep track of.
Yeah.
But,
That's
uh,
understandable. Well, hello, Carol. It's easy to get behind in any reading, much less Larry Nevins as much as he has. And good
mhm.
luck in trying to quit smoking. That's a hard habit to break, and my hat's off to anybody that can do it, and especially those who are trying to.
This is true. I sometimes think about giving it up, and so far I have not made that decision. I probably should. Um, you wouldn't believe I'm only 23 years old, but no, I'm 64. I've earned every one of these gray hairs. Let me tell you. Oh, Carol's quit twice already. Yeah, I
Uh,
I quit every time I go to bed, but I start up again as soon as I wake up. So Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of that comedian one time kept going harping on us. 13 years in Catholic school. 13 years! My parents sent me an extra year just to piss me off.
That's a good Sam Kinison there.
It was actually Vic Dunlap, I think, that did that.
Oh, okay. Well, it was still a good Sam Kinison.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Sam Kinison. Oh, man. I loved him in Back to School.
oh, Lord. Uh,
Well, Mr. Helper.
yeah. Actually, the music video he did with was it Jessica Hahn
Yeah,
for
Wild Thing.
Wild Thing? Yeah,
Yeah, his cover of that.
that was really worthwhile.
Uh,
Uh,
that, that line where she,
I loved every time that one came on. I mean,
oh, it was fun. He had all those rock stars in the video with him, but that line where he said, "Every time I kiss you, I taste what other men had for lunch."
mm,
I don't think that was in the original.
no, that wasn't one of the lines that was written by the band back in the '60s. I forget exactly.
I think it
It was
was
the
the Trogs.
Trogs.
Yes,
Yeah, the Trogs. Yeah, no, that line was mysteriously missing from their version. So,
and I don't know if it was. I know the song was used in Major League, the movie, with Charlie Sheen, Tom Berenger, and Wesley Snipes. But I think there might have been a cover that was performed in it. But yeah,
mm.
that was a pretty cool version too.
I just saw a video. Well, I didn't actually watch it. I saw the link to the video
Hmm.
of "Dirty Water" by the Standells, and the
Hmm.
Standells actually showed up on an episode of Gilligan's Island. I think they, I think in the show they were called the Mosquitoes,
Hmm.
and everybody knew who they were. I mean, they were being reacted to as if they were the Beatles,
Hmm.
uh, and somehow or another they failed to rescue everybody, even though everyone that lived on the island had told them we'd love to get out of this place, not to be name dropping another song. Um, but
Carol, you had a band named Toxic Shock.
oh, Carol, you would not. Carol has been and done so many amazing things. Uh, I wish I had half the life experience that this lady has had. She is a martial arts student and a very advanced one at that.
Mhm.
Um, she's married to a rocket scientist. She lives. Is it Houston? I forget now. I forget. Um, but Peter, her husband, is one of those folks that Stephanie probably has worked with.
Yeah.
Um,
I
or
was laughing
and
at her last comment.
yeah, played one song. Yeah,
It's a good song, though.
what was it? What was the line from? Uh, oh, now I can't remember the name of the Happy Days. That's the name of the TV show.
Yeah.
Finally, Senior Moment decided to go away. Um, we always do that song. I go this okay, but this time we'll sing the words. Okay. There we
Oh,
go. Oh, okay. Third degree. Kuxil won. Um, her scientist is now an ex-rocket scientist, so I gather he's retired.
yeah. So is our rocket scientist friend.
Mm.
She's an ex rocket scientist.
Yeah, it's a shame there's not more money in that. It is actually important. Um,
Well, it's not a priority for the government,
mm,
and not every private firm has tons of money that they can pay
Well,
people.
this is true. This is true. Um, oh,
Pennis like Pat Benatar, and I don't like her much. I like some of her songs.
yeah.
I never cared for "Love Is a Battlefield." I hated that song. I still hate it. I
Well,
hate the video.
yeah. There were most of the stuff that I know by Pat Benatar was played on MTV back in the day when MTV actually showed music
Yeah.
videos.
Now I love the video and the song "Shadows of the Night."
Yeah, that one seemed to be inspired. Really, a lot of people connected with that. Um,
And "All Fired Up" was another favorite of hers, mine.
I didn't I didn't appreciate that one probably as much as it deserved.
Yeah.
Um, but not every song by every artist is everybody's cup of tea. So there are a lot of really great songs by great bands that I just go, it didn't connect with me.
Did you ever get to hear that version of "Wider Shade of Pale" that I sent you by
Yes, I
HFAs?
did. Yes, I did. That was impressive. That was really impressive. I still prefer
The original, but
the
yeah.
original band as they were um, at the time they were doing a pre-retirement tour,
Hmm.
and they had the live orchestra there in the Netherlands. And that was a really really excellent thing. Not only because the band was at the top of their
Hmm.
form, even though they had uh, released the song
Yeah.
many years before, but you actually got to see the live orchestra and
Hmm.
see all the soloists play and
Hmm.
everything else. That for a former marching band member like myself, seeing musicians actually play and experiencing that with a really good recording of the sound
Yeah.
itself is one of those thrills that we so seldom get.
Carol, I would actually go even back earlier than that with the Jacksons. "Can You Feel It?" Because I remember watching a video of Dick Clark first airing the
Mm,
video on American Bandstand, and he talking about how he didn't like music videos, but he really thought this was good. And of course, having Orson Welles narrate it didn't hurt things
mm.
either.
There were a lot of music videos that came out before anybody thought to string a bunch of them together and make a program out of
Yeah.
them. Bobby Boris Pickett did a video for the Monster Mash at one time, and it was old enough to where it had to be filmed in black and white. So,
And the Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight.
hmm
I think they had a film version of their performing it that they turned into a music video.
yep. Carol just pointed out that Alice Cooper did a lot of music
Oh yes.
videos. Yep. He he actually did a movie of the Welcome to My Nightmare album, and Vincent Price was acting as well as narrating an interstitial bit between two songs, and actually
I,
won an Emmy for no, not, is it an Emmy for a recording?
mm,
He won an award for doing the museum curator there
yeah.
for um, uh, let's see, it was in between Devil's Food and Black Widow, I do believe. It was the introduction basically to the song Black Widow. Um,
Mm.
and,
Well, one of the first performances I remember seeing of Alice Cooper was on the Muppet Show,
oh yeah, yeah.
and he did "You and Me," which is probably the nicest ballad he ever.
Oh,
performed.
no. He does a lot of those. He really does. Alice Cooper writes some really good love
Well,
songs.
it's the first one that I remember hearing. Now later
Hmm.
heard "Only Women Bleed," which Lita Ford did a nice cover of, by the
Hmm.
way.
That would have been earlier, released earlier
Mm.
than um, what was the one you mentioned before? I'm sorry.
You
My
mean
mind went blank. You and Me, yes. Uh, uh, they
the
were
thing
only
that got me
separated by
about
a year
You
or
and
so.
Me was they had all these monster puppets. I think they made specifically for his appearance on the show, and there were some of them. They had the look of adoration on their made up faces, and that
Yeah.
just was weird for a
We're
kid.
not worthy. We're not worthy. Yeah.
Oh man, that was best part of Wayne's World too. Other than the fight scene where they answer the phone in the middle of, and they're doing like the subtitles
Oh
for him
yeah.
and her father,
Mm. Um,
James Hong and Mike Myers.
Alice Cooper did a musical number in the Johnny Depp Dark Shadows movie,
Yeah,
and that
I
was
love that line. It's like, you need Alice Cooper. I remember her well.
ugliest woman ever.
Oh
Oh
man,
my God.
that
Uh,
film was so wrong, but so right on so many levels.
I know. Dark Shadows should never have been a comedy, but it worked. What can I say?
I can't remember all of Jesus Christ Superstar because I did see a televised version of that at one point in time,
Mhm.
Carol. But
I have never seen a version that Alice was in.
I kept, obviously me being a young child, Saturday Night Live was all the rage, and Yvonne Elliman saying "If I Can't Have You," and I saw that she was in the movie, and she didn't sound the same, and I didn't have a picture of her, so I didn't know which one she played in it, and it didn't. That was what I was most looking forward to because I found out that hey, the gal that sang that's in it, and I'm like, and she's got a really sweet voice in the song that she does for Saturday Night Live Fever or Saturday Night Fever, but her voice was different in that production
Mhm.
I saw, and I didn't get to see all of it because I had to leave and go do something somewhere. So
Oh, back in the 70s, Alice was in um, one of uh, the movie of the week lineup that
mm,
turned into a bunch of different series.
yeah.
I forget the network it was, but that was where the world first got to see was it Macmillan and Wife, and
Mm.
um,
That was late night CBS, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't
It seems
remember the network.
it was on
Uh,
CBS.
but
I'm not positive.
there were two little old lady detectives, and they had some nice little mystery going on in one of their episodes of this mystery of the week thing, and it just so happens that they went they had to go. It was like a scavenger hunt for clues. They had to go to different locations to pick up different clues, and Alice Cooper uh, was the one to give them one of their clues, and he did the song Sick Things
Hmm.
on TV. And it was probably about the time that Welcome to My Nightmare came out, but that particular song was from one of the earlier albums to Welcome to My Nightmare. It wasn't School's Out. It was even earlier than that. It might have been Constrictor, or maybe I'm just misremembering album
I thought
titles at the
Constrictor
moment.
came out after. I thought
Uh,
Constrictor had this theme song from Friday the 13th, Part 6, The Man Behind the Mask.
um, Okay, and now this is a case where I'm probably putting the wrong album title to something else, but
And Carol, if John Legend played Jesus Christ, this must be a later version you're talking of. I'm thinking about the one that came out in the late 70s, early 80s, because that would have been a little bit before John Legend's time.
mm, no, and getting back to Alice Cooper's softer side,
Hmm.
my wife and I have an entire playlist of just Alice Cooper love songs,
Hmm.
and true, a lot of them will have a Alice Cooper twist,
Hmm.
but this is uh, back in the day when we were just married, and she was enjoying the freedom to listen to a lot of things
Hmm.
on music videos and whatnot that she had never experienced before,
Oh.
and uh, I definitely led her down a long and winding path there, but there were a few flowers to stop and sniff along the way. Um,
um, I like to think about my musical taste as the title to one of Joan Jett's albums, "Glorious Results of a Misspent Youth."
oh, I thought you were going to say I hate myself for loving you.
No, no. Um,
I've got an ex
that
that
that point in
seems.
time we discussed last time we were up at 6 a.m.
Let's not do that again. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm not
I,
planning on it.
I've slept in the chair for 3 nights already this week,
Yeah,
and I had to
um,
get up and go to work one of
but
those. But
I hey, that was a Saturday night, and you got to sleep in the next day. And
hmm
like I said, it was something that I needed to get off my chest, and you
hey,
were kind enough to listen to me, and it's over with, and now you know, and now you don't have to worry about it anymore.
hey, I've already forgotten. It's private information. I will never divulge it to anybody. There's
Like I
never
said,
been a true serum strong enough to get through my amnesia. So,
yeah,
yeah,
that's perfectly fine.
I'm one of those people. If you tell me
Turn off.
secrets,
Now,
you don't have
um,
to worry about it the next day because if I've gone to sleep in between the time you told me and the time you talk to me the next time, I won't remember a thing.
Carol, Sirius XM Hair Nation likes playing "Feed My Frankenstein" by Alice Cooper,
hmm Um,
which is one of his own
I've, I've,
several
I've,
things.
I've actually in a book I wrote that should be coming out sometime in the next year and a half. Um,
Be right back, Dan.
okay. Uh, sometime in the next year and a half, I've got a book out that I used a lot of music that I really like as either uh, verbal cues in the song or the actual story has subtitles, which are song titles that you can use to construct your own playlist to listen to as you read along. The only trouble is sometimes the actual chapters are shorter than the song, and sometimes the read time for another chapter with a song title subtitle is quite a bit longer than that song takes to actually play. So you'd have to double up a couple of times, but um, usually the effect is if you trigger the song when you start the chapter, it doesn't matter if the song ends before you finish reading the chapter. Thematically, it will play in the back of your mind while you're going through it until you hit the next chapter and get the next earworm, for which you can thank me if you are so inclined, using whatever language you feel inclined to use, whether it is rude or complimentary. I don't care. Uh, you did actually happen to read something that I wrote, and that's the important thing to me. Whether I get paid for it is a side effect. I just want people to enjoy what I write. So, hey, here we go. There's my
Hi
rocket
there.
mama. Hey, darling.
Hey there. I reached a point where I was pretty much done trying to do any writing or editing or anything. Been trying to get the short story for that anthology. Uh,
Re-edited.
yeah,
Hmm.
and back to them, and I've been doing that most of the day, and I just kind of went
Yeah.
and said that.
We've got Carol Phillips in the audience here. This was her most recent comment. Uh, Her husband Peter used to be a rocket scientist there in Huntsville,
Cool.
and we mentioned you, of course, and the question came up: um, was it possible that you and Peter might have known each other? And I don't remember whether it's Peter Phillips or if Carol and Peter have uh, different last names. But Carol, you can pop in and tell us, and maybe by some coincidence, Stephanie and Peter actually had met a time or two. I know it's a big rocket industry, but
Okay, he's out of Houston, and I'm in
Peter
Huntsville.
Taylor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The name is familiar. I may well have interacted with him, but unless he was sitting console for a mission or something or other like that, I probably wouldn't have known him as such.
Yeah, I think Peter was doing more design stuff, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure. He worked in Building 13 at JSC.
Right. Yeah, it's on the Space Center.
Hmm.
And hello, Stephanie. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, Chris, I was just telling Dan that I finally got tired of editing and writing, so my
Um,
eyes are
Perfectly
slightly busy.
understandable.
I actually before Lindsay and I started our busy day today, I actually got a few more paragraphs pounded out on the work in progress.
Good.
I'm closing in on the ending. I promise, folks, I'll finish this thing, and eventually one day you'll be able to read it. I hope everybody enjoys it as much as I've enjoyed agonizing over every word.
I, I did get to mention cracking you up Thursday night with my comment about Joe and Lucy.
It's like check the seismograph stations.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist when I
Oh,
heard y'all talking about that. I'm
just
like,
fine.
I
I
gotta
lost
say
it.
this.
That was good. Um.
We
Oh,
all need to laugh.
Oh yeah.
tra- travel to Florida once to inspect a space shuttle. Okay. Um,
Yeah, wish he could have popped in earlier. We had Zach from Canada. He is, I think he has a YouTube channel called The Launch Pad.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he evidently spent a week or so at the SpaceX facility
Yeah,
in Boca Chica,
yeah.
and it went back to Canada with a sunburn
In the winter.
in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have actually. I used to do horse stuff before I got all broken down and whatnot. And I used to go down to Florida long about February, long about this time of the year, and I would do the horsey stuff. I would go
Mhm.
watch polo and jumping and all that kind of stuff. Mostly polo because I liked that. Um, and I would come home not infrequently with a sunburn because that's in South Florida. That's down
Yeah.
near down Palm Beach area.
Okay.
So it would be much more comfortable than
Yeah.
northern Alabama in February.
Oh yes. A lot of times, what I would do would be
Excuse me.
Daryl would take me to the airport, and I would leave my coat
Mhm.
once I got to security. I would
Mhm.
leave my coat with him, and because I would not need it until I got back.
Yeah.
and then he would bring it when he came to pick me up. I'm my headphone cord has gotten all
This is
yeah.
going.
Cattywampus.
I'm trying to sort it.
This is going to take
Cattywampus.
a here. Funny joke about building 13 at JFC. Back when they remembered the space shuttle missions, so that it included the last number of the year. So this would be the second number of the mission it was that year, with a letter denoting where the Space Center started that mission, so that they were numbering something like 3070. Indeed, once somebody put up a sign on building 13 with the letters that said the space shuttle mission, that would have been the number 13 was so-called building.
Hmm.
Well,
Okay.
one of the things I got a kick out of whenever I went down there was that the squirrels were completely tame because people fed them,
Yeah.
and they would walk right up to you and demand to know where their peanuts were. So
Sorry, I left them in the machine so they'd still be fresh.
yeah,
Mhm.
so
I actually get that remark when it's quitting time for me. There'll be people that still have 4 hours of work that day, and they'll go, "Hey, where's my beer?" And I go, "Sorry, I left it in the store so it'd stay cold for you."
Well, it's a good thing they didn't have honey roasted peanuts as mass available back then, because it would have been funny if they had insisted that it was honey roasted instead of regular dry roasted
Oh,
peanuts.
yeah,
Lord.
Like, I
Oh,
don't want that. I want
building
the good
13 was
stuff.
building 1441C. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. They periodically they go through and they reorg everything, and they decide everything needs different designators.
Yeah.
So
um, one of your short stories that was in an anthology, I think it was a zombie anthology. Your narrating character was in orbit when a zombie attack happened in Houston at the Space Center.
oh, that was the one that Travis wrote that starred me.
Oh, Travis wrote that.
Travis
Mhm.
wrote that.
I'm sorry, I thought you wrote that. It was so
No,
it
no.
was so sure
No,
it was yours.
the reason why you're associating it with me is because I'm the protagonist of the story.
Okay. Um, well,
So
I hope Travis takes it as a compliment that I thought you wrote it. It was so good. Uh,
Travis and I have very similar styles. So
Yeah.
yeah,
mm,
That's why he got you to pick up the. I can't pronounce the name of it.
Cresparian,
Yes.
the Cresparian saga. Yeah.
Yes.
Um. So yeah. And why we've co-authored some books together.
Yeah.
So
And it was very good how you picked up on that series, because that was not the easiest standoff to accept.
well, I'm still trying to work out. There's one more book in the current story arc, and
Hmm.
I can't get there because not alone.
Hmm.
And at this point, Travis has bowed out, Daryl Bain has bowed out, and it's all landed in my lap, and I don't know enough military stuff. And it's just not. I mean, Dan has tried to work with me on it, and it's just not an easy story to write, is it, Dan?
no, I took my best shot at it, but I couldn't think big enough.
Well, it's
It really it's there's a lot of continuity to keep track of,
yeah,
and
and
evidently I started in the middle of the second book and could not remember the third book for some reason. But there was so much backstory in the third book that if I had remembered it, I would have been able to do a better job. But I don't know why. But I read them like four times each, and it's still it was I couldn't keep track of it. I really could
yeah.
not keep track of it.
Well,
It's a
and
it's a very complicated history.
Yeah, it's a very complicated arc, and frankly, I was struggling because neither Bain nor Taylor kept a story Bible on it. So I was building all of that from scratch as I went along.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
so
You went to
so
work.
I still here all these years, and book 4 is still not anywhere close to finished,
Yeah.
and I just don't know what to do with it.
Carol, appreciate you joining in and commenting and being a
Thank you,
part of the
Carol.
show. Have a
It's
Thank you
good
very
always
night.
much, Carol.
we do miss you in the Saturday chats. Uh, the Niven mailing list monthly chats of first Saturday of every month, and we've been doing that for since, well, I got into it in about 1995, and it's still going, and the mailing list is still going on. Uh, and Larry, when he has time, he will show up on the Saturday chats, and he will answer questions put to him in the mailing list and things like that. We've actually had an impact on a couple of the books that he's written just because we asked questions that got him to think about, hey, that's not a bad idea. Let me see what I can do with that. And we did get credit. I mean, he actually said, "Hey, without these folks, I wouldn't have thought to write this one."
Cool.
Yay!
Sorry, I had to stretch for a minute. I figured y'all didn't need to be saying that.
Actually, uh, in the commentary impact book, I mention uh, Larry and Jerry, and because it was not exactly a name drop, but it was obvious to fans of theirs
Mm-hmm.
exactly which book I was referencing and what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I I got Larry to vet the two places in the story that they were mentioned in, and make sure that I didn't overstep my bounds as a poor sad fanboy. Um,
Yeah.
he said, "Hey, it's general enough. We'll let it slide this time. Next time you got to pay us." Uh, or something to that effect.
Well, I know a guy who got two kittens from one litter, and he named them Larry and Jerry.
Oh, that's so cute. Cute. Oh, Lord.
Let me take a guess. Jerry was the more vocal of the two, and Larry was the quieter.
I honestly don't know because he hasn't really said, but evidently they're both things on wheels.
Mm, nothing wrong with that.
Yep,
Oh,
definitely
guys,
a character.
my eyes are bleary and I'm brain dead tonight because I have spent so much time. I have actually, because of some of the comments that they came back with on the short story,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I've actually had to add some scenes. So that means I'm writing when
Hmm.
when grief brain doesn't want to write.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of tired.
I understand that.
Well, it is a way to focus on something other than the circumstance. Yeah, I used that to great effect while uh, I lost my second wife in the middle of writing that
Mm.
commentary impact book that I was just saying, and uh, that probably saved me from going further off the deep end than I did,
Mm.
because I threw myself into finishing the book as if it was a paying deadline rather than an online deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And I, I flatter myself to think that bits and pieces of it are some of the best work that I've ever done. Bits and pieces of it I would do over again differently if I had the chance, which is something every writer will say. If I had it to do over, I'd have done this. But uh,
Well,
uh, we do that. We tend to do that.
it's funny because if I'm going back, let's say I'm writing a sequel in
Hmm.
one of my series, and I want to go back and refresh my memory on something that happened in an earlier book that I want to tie into, I will find myself trying to mark it up. And it's like I'm reading on my Kindle, I can't mark it up, I can't change it. So,
Yeah, I'm I'm lucky in one way that I still have the word processor files, and then I'm unlucky in another way because when I start reading the damn thing again, trying to find the point that I'm looking for, I'm going, "Oh, I could have done that better. Let me change." No, it's done. I can't.
yeah,
I've already turned it in.
yeah.
I can't change it
Well,
until I get this back or whatever. But
I finally trained myself. Well, I haven't completely trained myself not to do it. But bless her heart, my very first publisher had to have been so patient with me because we would get to the galley proofs and I was still making markups.
yeah,
No,
you,
this would read better this way.
yeah, I've learned so much since I finished this. That's the thing. Um, you always turn in the best work you could do at the time, but then by the time you get edits and comments and whatnot back, you've gone in through something else and you've learned more.
Mhm.
So I shudder to think at some of the early stuff I did. If I were to tackle the same material now, um, how much I would
Well,
hate what I did then.
the first several Division 1 books were based on work that I did around the year 2000-ish.
Hmm.
Um and so it was one of those cases. It was so far back that I was backing them up on 3-inch floppies and
Oh
zip
yes,
drives.
Wow.
it's been a day and a half there.
Yeah, and so
I'm going to have to step away from the camera. I will be right back. I'm sorry.
okay. Um,
I miss 3.5 inch disc drives. I always thought that, you know, I remember the old 5 1/4s,
oh yeah,
and
oh yeah.
the fact that they really were kind of floppy if you weren't careful
Mhm.
with them.
Yep, yep,
And
yep.
the 3.5s were a lot more firmer, and they held more data, and they
Yeah.
looked cool because you could get them in cool different colors. And
And color code things.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And but when I decided to actually, somebody said, "Well, go back and take something that you wrote a long time ago and rework it and put it out." So I did. But when I started reading through what I thought at the time was pretty good,
Hmm.
I just cringed. Because
Oh,
in that several decades I had improved considerably.
oh, yeah. I mean, that's a good thing about it. I mean, I'll use a music reference because me and Dan talk about music all the time. Taylor Swift, when she released "Me," it was a real simple song that sounded like something a little kid wrote, and it sounded like it because she's coming from the perspective of a kid. But then you take another one of her songs that wasn't about a failed relationship that she was trying to rub it in on somebody,
Mhm.
a whole lot more mature, cooler sounding, and better polished.
Mhm.
I mean, age and time adds perspective and usually polish if you've learned anything.
Yeah. And I think I don't know. It's interesting to go back and read and see how much my writing has improved
Yeah.
over the years.
Uh,
And I'm still learning stuff.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that I'm really really bad about is I love my commas. I use way too many commas, and I'm trying really hard to learn that less is more.
Well,
oh,
yeah, but
I can
I'm a
put
big fan of the Oxford.
next to my chair and just throw them at the screen. Uh, they stick wherever they stick. I mean,
Oxford
I,
commas,
I'm
yes, me
I'm a
too.
huge fan of the Oxford comma.
you can tell that I'm a big fan of the Oxford comma just by reading my Facebook posts. I mean,
Hmm.
Well,
if you just looked at the uh, number of letters in there in between commas, you'd swear it was translating from Welsh or something. But
Well,
35
my
commas in a vowel. Um,
my problem is I do have an education, but I've also spent a lot of time around people that didn't really go beyond high school and they didn't exactly excel at English and grammar at a high school level. So when you're around people that don't always talk in complete sentences or uses a bunch of slangs or 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 it subconsciously gets added to your vocabulary whether you realize it or not.
yeah,
oh yeah, I've got a few friends. Um, they actually have the Jack Daniels accent. It's they don't enunciate clearly. It's like one big vowel movement. uh,
Well,
Believe me, in my lexicon, I is a word. I know exactly how to spell it. It takes a while, but I know exactly how to spell it because
well,
there's silent letters in there. Uh,
and I do not hold there is a current school of fiction writing that holds that you don't write dialect. And I'm like,
how the
no.
hell are you going to establish your
oh,
characters without giving them
Exactly. That's a
dialects?
perfect shorthand for a character is
Really?
the dialect.
and
So
oh man, there Michael
How
Stackpole.
a character from Texas without using a bunch of apostrophes? I
yeah,
mean,
really.
you gotta shorthand this
And
stuff.
and
Hmm.
and the personal pronoun I is spelled AH. I
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go do this. AHGOTTA go do arguably could be depending on how thick the accent is could be DEW.
Yeah. Oh yes, and where we live, how's your mama and them is one word,
Mhm.
and it's usually pronounced fast enough to where you don't realize that there's several words in that compound phrase. To try and not to
Oh,
shape the pencil too fine a point, but yeah, um, accents are they're a fun part of character building.
yeah. I
They're
actually got my
it's a
authors mixed
fancy hat
up.
that you can drop on a character you don't want to develop.
What
They
did you say,
actually have,
Chris?
I said I got my authors mixed up. I started to say Michael Stackpole. I'm like, no, that don't
Oh.
sound right. Um, William Keith Jr. Wrote some of the BattleTech MechWarrior associated novels
Mhm.
about the Grey Death Legion, and there is a member of the mercenary group um, called McCall, and he has a Scottish accent, and he refers to his mech as his wee Bannockburn. And that line where he gets pissed off and is like, "Damn bloody Sassenach!" And I'm sorry, you could not do that without writing the accent
Nope.
and and
Yeah,
it gives so much more life and punch to that character.
and there's some writers that it just it just flows. You sitting there as a reader and a writer, and
Hmm.
you're reading their material, and you're going, "Oh, this is a work of art." You know, I mean,
Well, the funny thing is,
L.
when
Smith
his
doing a Texas accent, it'll
when
blow
hi-
your mind. It's accurate beyond belief.
the funny thing is, his wee Bannockburn was a 55-ton mech, and then he upgrades it later on to a 95-ton mech. His wee Bannockburn.
Yep.
We
We.
Is it
Um.
tiny?
One of my displaced detective novels takes place in New Orleans, and I added a character very deliberately. He's a teenage boy, he's Cajun, and so I went full bore into the Cajun dialect,
mhm.
and my publisher made me put, put in footnotes translating.
I remember. Oh Lord,
Well,
that was glorious. That was absolutely. That's
um,
like you're reading Stephanie's stuff, and all of a sudden here's something that would turn up in Terry Pratchett. Footnotes.
Stephanie, you're
Yes,
going
sir.
to meet a Cajun at Fantasy,
Okay.
Yvonne Arton Jacobs.
Okay. I've been to New Orleans
She is
numerous times.
a hoot.
I I do believe that the lady in question is on my friends list. And,
She's on mine, I know,
oh yeah,
because I
Oh
recognize the name.
God, she
that's
is
oh,
so damn funny.
it's. I love everything that she comments on. I swear.
I think the
There's some
world ever.
people that
Oh
you
my God, she
wind
is
up
so much
knowing,
fun.
and even though it's a text medium like Facebook, it's so glorious to be having them there where they can comment your stuff, and you can return the favor on their posts, and
Hmm.
it's so much fun. So,
Um,
so much fun.
Chris, you
the
scared me there for a second
yeah.
when you just took that big swig out of the bottle.
Hmm.
Because when you first turned the bottle up, because it was upside down and I couldn't tell what it was, and for a second there I thought you were chugging hand sanitizer.
Nope. It
No,
is
it's Statesman bourbon. No,
no. It is Simple Truth artisan water.
Okay. But you
Perfect.
got to admit, upside down and moving, that would
Yeah.
look like a hand sanitizer bottle.
Yeah. Well, I was afraid you was gonna think it's vodka or gin.
it's tap water from Knoxville is what it is.
Yeah. I, it could be from Cincinnati. That's where Kroger's headquartered at. Um,
Oh no, they're
but
not going to ship water from Cincinnati when they can get it from Knoxville. Believe me.
it's probably purer in Knoxville than it is in Cincinnati. There's probably too many soaps and suds in Cincinnati with
Well,
Colgate,
it could be
Colgate Palm Olive, and
it could be
Procter and
from
Gamble.
Norris Lake and unfiltered. And
Yeah.
believe me, I've been fishing on Norris Lake. There are a lot of underground streams and things that springs that just pop up out of the ground on some of those ridges, and they are ice cold and they are pure water. But you go 6 feet, there's a salamander.
Um, Stephanie, I'm sure you've heard of the Four Horsemen universe.
I've written in it.
Well, Yvonne does book reviews in a certain group of that book. It's fun watching her talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I've got a short story in one of the Four Horsemen anthologies.
Yes, I was thinking you did, but I read so many. They have put so many books out in such a short amount of time, but the quality is so good.
That's because it's so much fun, not only to read, but
Hmm.
I wanted to actually do a sequel to my short story, but they were like, "Nah, we need to move on to something else. Covers too much repeat ground." And I was like,
Yeah,
mm,
but yeah, they're
we'll
just
write it anyway.
"Well, I can't. It uses their concepts. I can't. They got
yeah.
the copyright. I can't do
She's
that."
yes. She would have to get authorization or permission to do something, but the guy that co-created it, she's his astronomy and science guru, sensei, whatever you want to call it, and he thinks the world of her, and as do we. But
It doesn't have to be published. Just write it because you want to write it.
and you never know, they may change their minds if it's good enough.
It can stay in the vaults. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
see the light of
Because I
day
will tell you this,
because it would please you to have
yeah,
the story out of your head.
and if it's good as your normal stuff, they'll probably take a shot into it, like, well, maybe we
Well,
could make an
let me
exception.
let me explain something here, okay? They actually had to whack off most of the tail end of the short story because it seems that I got a little too close to a secret that they had been planning for later books.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
I
that,
hate it when that happens.
and there's some stuff that I'm guessing at that I'm pretty sure is going to be right on
Mm.
target.
Hmm. So I actually, until they're ready to go there with it, they can't do anything with it anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just remembered some of the stuff that was in my attempt to help you with the book for the Casparian thing. I'm going, oh, wait a minute. I put Joe Buckley in it and I
Yep.
didn't kill him.
Yeah,
And
you
he got
killed
the
it.
girl. That is so counter instructions. I did it deliberately, but
I think you put him in there twice, if memory serves, and you killed him once, and he got the girl the other time. Yeah,
mm,
yeah. I
I
may be thinking about
no,
something else.
I killed off Joe Dog, and
That's
Buckley
right.
Buckley was Joe Dog's partner in that particular spacecraft, and Joe Dog made sure Buckley lived, and then
That's
later
right.
on, it got to he gets the girl segment of the story, and I'm going, I don't know how or I don't know where this came from. And I don't know why I'm such a contrarian when it comes to some of the established tropes that we uh, agree upon using. And I
Well,
just, well, let me see if I can flip this one.
Hmm.
that's one of the things that I like to do. Is like I want to take a trope and turn it on its ear.
Hmm.
So,
And
That
I
is one.
apologize because I probably butchered the spelling of that, Stephanie.
uh,
Oh, in the private chat? Yeah. Let me look at that. Da, 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 da,
yeah. I don't know. I think you got it right.
But that's one thing I've been kind of speculating on the past several books,
Hmm.
and
Well,
I've got
I'm
another
going to be
friend that
good and not go where not tell y'all about the deleted ending of the story.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
that's fine. I'm not asking you to give away any trade secrets or anything like that.
Uh,
I have another friend that's figured some stuff out, and he's kind of hinted at it, but not giving me too much to. I mean, they've been vague hints, so he's being nice about that. Plus, he said they'd probably kill him if he did tell anything.
well, I mean, yeah, they were kind enough to
given
let me
that crew,
write
they
in
can
their
easily
universe.
accomplish it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and make it look like an unsolved mystery.
yeah.
Oh Lord.
That is not a
Instead,
group.
you have to bring Sherlock Holmes in to solve it and go. I don't believe I'm going to tell anybody about this one.
There are some in that group I would not want to piss off, and not necessarily the authors, but close friends of the authors.
I get along pretty well with the authors, I think.
I'll
So
get along well with the authors and a lot of the fans, but like I said, I wouldn't want to mess with some of them because they don't give a flying flip. To
That's
put
pretty
it nicely.
good. Yes. There we go. This is why Chris and I get along so well. Not only do we have similar tastes in music, we probably come up with the same sentences at the same time more often than people think. But
Yeah, me and Dan are just on a wavelength where we communicate well.
statesman bourbon, yes. Oh,
I'm hoping they'll give me
glorious! That was glorious. I
I'm
swear.
hoping they'll give me a advertising deal with them.
Oh, they should. We name drop them often enough.
Yeah.
I actually pulled out a copy of that movie, and I'm going to rewatch it. But
Hmm.
uh, I'm I was trying to.
It's cheesy, but it is so much fun.
I was
It's
trying
got Elton John with a
to
cameo
wade
in it.
through a lesser known Marvel movie earlier this week, and unfortunately, um, it was after Thursday night show,
Hmm.
and I thought, hey, I'm wired. I'll just watch this and then I'll go to bed.
oh,
I got the first 30 minutes of the movie, and the next thing I know, my alarm clock is going off, so I had to go to work the next morning, and I'm still sitting in the chair. I never
How?
made it to bed.
Which one was it?
I don't. I really don't want to say because it's not. I went to sleep not because the movie is boring.
Well, that's
I went
fine.
to sleep
Type it in
because I
private
was
chat.
exhausted. But it was
Type it in private
Eternals.
chat. It was what?
Eternals.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one yet.
Well, and what I
I
remember
haven't either.
seeing in the setup of the first 30, 45 minutes of it that I remember watching, it was a really entertaining movie,
I
especially if you're a Kirby fan, which you might take um, offense at the way they adapted the characters for the screenplay rather than
they're
sticking
gonna,
to comic
yeah,
books. I
they're
mean,
gonna do what they're gonna do.
there are people that are purists that
Yeah,
you can't do this because he didn't write it that way, and the people that are doing the movies go, yeah, well, if we could do it his way, we would, but we ain't got that kind of money.
I got a deal earlier Saturday evening. It was the last copy they had.
Oh,
Twelve
nice.
ninety six
mm-hmm.
for all three on
Oh,
Blu-ray.
Ooh.
I found this one at the dollar store.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Now I had watched the first one, and it is animated, but I don't count points against it for that. I mean,
Eh,
I am at big Adams Family fan.
And I did.
Gomez and Morticia have been, um, well, I hesitate to say life goals, but
Hmm.
they did have in the live series, they had one of the most healthy romantic relationships that I have ever seen on television.
Oh
And
yeah.
I did grow up with Leave It to Beaver and stuff around that era, and I'm going, excuse me, between Gomez and Morticia
Hmm.
and um, the Munsters with Lily and Herman,
Hmm.
that's a hell of a lot more healthy than a
Hmm.
lot of TV restrictions back in the
Yeah.
day were allowed to portray a married couple.
Yeah.
Just, I mean,
I
Well.
I never understood why Dick and Laura on the Dick Van Dyke Show always slept in separate beds. When I
because,
was a kid.
because at at the time,
At the
yeah,
time, yeah,
Yeah.
they weren't allowed to show, but
Yeah.
hmm
as a kid, that made no sense. You
Well,
know,
actually,
they did.
I think it wasn't until Adam's Family and the Munsters that TV censors actually allowed a married couple to be shown sharing a bed. Lucy and Ricky had separate
yeah,
beds.
they
Yeah.
did.
Well, they didn't realize it at the time, but the dirtiest thing ever said on 50s television was, Ward, don't you think you were a little bit too hard on the beaver last night?
I knew that was the line. I knew that was the line.
Like I said, they may not realized it at the time, but I did get one splurge item to go along with the deal that I found.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jungle Cruise.
Oh, okay. And now I have not seen the physical thing to buy yet.
I have seen enough
Well, no,
of the
I've seen the
previews.
previews for the movie.
Yeah,
I,
that I,
I
I
did go to
decided to
theaters
bite the
because they
bullet
had
and go
fair
ahead and get it.
crowds, but I have not actually seen the DVD for sale yet.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
But
Well, that
I
was the
will pick it.
last
I will pick.
4K copy they had. I do have one 4K television. I hope to eventually get another.
Mhm.
But the thing I like about the 4Ks is they often have Blu-rays with them,
Mm.
so you can watch on high definition televisions and Blu-ray players if you
I
don't have the equipment to do 4K.
I have yet to buy a Blu-ray player. It's been years. I mean, they're about to become
Mhm.
obsolete. By the time I get one,
No,
there'll be some other thing come out, and
because
Blu-ray will be obsolete.
they still do plenty of regular DVDs, so they will not become obsolete. The only way they may become less prevalent is when 8K becomes the standard, but people have spent so much money upgrading from uh, high definition television to 4K and upgrading to all these game systems and computers that, quite honestly, they're tired of upgrading right now. They just want to kind of let things stay where they are.
You're talking to a guy that has had to buy 8 different versions of the White Album just to be able to listen to the Beatles.
Mm.
I mean, I've got it on vinyl. Um,
There are several movies I have on VHS that have not converted to DVD or Blu ray,
mm,
and I periodically look to see if that's happened. I do have a Roxio VHS to DVD converter program, but some of my tapes have deteriorated where I don't think I could get a good transfer, and trying to find a copy that's in good enough shape where you could do that is not the easiest thing in the world. And I'm going to have to get a new desktop before I can use the program because I got to upgrade.
Wrong computer. My email's on the other computer. I got an ad today for a workstation,
Mm-hmm.
sort of like mine, and it was very affordable. It was
Mm-hmm.
either Newegg or Tiger Direct. I think it was
Yeah.
Newegg, and less than $500 for better than what I'm using to stream right now.
Yeah.
It's teeny tiny, and it doesn't have an awful lot of plugins. You have to use a USB um, outlet strip basically to get everything plugged up to it, and you do have to get an adapter from uh, the video display thing that it comes with to go to
Yeah.
either VGA or HDMI or
Yeah.
um, some of the other formats that you would normally find on a monitor.
Yeah.
But considering my first three or four computers were like $2,000 a piece,
Mm-hmm.
$500 does not sound like too much to spend on a really capable and going to be able to keep up with state of the art for 5 or 6 years at a minimum.
Well, my
But
main thing is I like having optical drives. I know
mm,
everybody's trying to go to digital downloads and over the internet downloads and all that.
mm,
I like having an actual disk I can put in a tray and load
mhm.
the program. Plus, I like putting my music collection on a hard drive. And most of the stuff that are out there do not have optical internal optical drives because I don't
This is
really care
true.
for the USB external ones,
Yeah. Well,
and they don't have the size hard drives that I like. And I don't want to pay something. I mean, even though it's a good price, I don't want to pay for something that I'm probably going to wind up swapping out parts for and voiding the warranty for when I can build one myself and be happier with the end result.
yep. I do understand. I do understand. Um, this one.
I mean,
Uh,
good grief, I'm a redneck from Murray County, Georgia, and I managed to build two computers myself, and that's no mean feat.
I I used to I used to build my own. Um,
I know it's a
troubleshooting
lot of
the
patience.
trouble troubleshooting the build and actually getting what should have been firmware
Mm.
but wasn't into the
Yeah,
darn thing. Just it drove me crazy, and I just said, I'll go to Office Depot and buy whatever they
yeah,
got, or I'll buy one online.
yeah,
And just it'll have what it has, and if it's something where I can add extra RAM or swap out for a bigger hard drive without
yeah,
having to compromise the operating system,
yeah.
I'll do it. But this one, um, I wound up getting a 1 terabyte SD card.
Mm-hmm.
Plug it in the side, and there's a trick to get it to recognize that as an internal drive.
Yeah. Now, my one of my coworkers' mother works for a computer store in town, and
Cha-ching!
they have well, the video card that I want to get is almost $1,000. And I
That should be a
really
good one.
oh, it is a good one, but the problem is everybody that with this pandemic and everybody being at home for most of two past 2 years, everybody's upgraded, building new computers, and the
Yep.
prices are at a premium because a lot of them are built overseas. And the only thing they have in short supply are overpriced, outdated cards.
Mm. Yeah. And you don't want an outdated card, no matter what the price is.
Exactly. Why do I
You
want to pay almost $500 for a card that has been out of date for about 2 years?
because that's the only thing anybody's got in stock.
Yeah, well, they've got other things in
That's the
stock,
base reason, but it's also the reason why you haven't done it.
but I'm trying to save up my pennies, and when I get to where I can buy that, I'll buy the other stuff at a much slower rate, and I will get a system that I will be happier with. In
Uh,
fact, I've also thought about taking one of my older computers, which I have a 3.5-inch floppy drive that Stephanie can appreciate,
Oh yeah.
and
I've
put
got
it
an
in it.
external. I've got an external plugged in here. I swear, I've got. Hell, I've still got a 5 1/4 somewhere.
I
I
got a
don't
Commodore
remember what.
64 somewhere
I don't
Yeah.
remember which
I do
computer
too.
it's built into, but I've got the damn thing.
with the huge 1541-inch disk drive.
I
No,
got a
I haven't.
floppy. I've got a Hershey bar modem.
Oh, you're
Hmm.
kidding.
No, remember those?
Mm.
I remember having to kill a robot every time I dialed up. Yeah.
Well, I was excited when I bought my first computer. It had a whopping 8.4 gigabyte hard drive. It was a Pentium 2 266 megahertz Micron computer with Cambridge Soundworks speakers, and I paid way too much money for it.
Oh, my
But
sweet
it
summer
was mine,
child.
and I loved it at the time.
My first actual desktop computer was from Radio Shack. It was a 386. It came with a 20 megabyte hard drive.
Hmm.
And my 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 friend that taught me a lot about building computers, and I put in a math coprocessor chip and maxed out the RAM, and eventually put in a 500 megabyte hard drive because that was the biggest thing we could find. And
Hmm.
that thing is still functional, but it's really slow.
Well, the thing that I'm curious about is I don't know whether I need a. Naturally, I'm going to get a solid state drive for the operating system and some of the
Yeah.
things, but I don't want to do the mistake I made with my last one, because I bought the biggest solid state drive I could at the time, which was a 256 gigabyte one, and I made the mistake of putting my music on it.
Yeah,
And I filled it up quicker than I ever thought possible.
that goes on an external drive. I've got something like 200, maybe 300 gigabytes of music on one of the external drives.
So
Uh,
between pictures and music,
you fill up a hard drive really quickly.
well,
And
and I
solid
won't.
state, you really, yeah, that's something you want to keep for the operating system and the programs you find the most essential to
Yeah,
install to the
the
CD.
stuff that I need.
Yeah.
And if I start getting to where I put some of these ideas in my head for portions of stories and trying to actually gel it into something that might be presented for sale at some point in time, I probably want to put it on the other um, drive instead of SSD drive because I've got way more room for it. I'm
Hmm.
just trying to decide if I need. I want to get the biggest capacity that I can get, but I don't know if I need an NAS drive or if I get a regular hard drive, the speeds aren't up to 7,200 RPMs, and I'm wondering if I could live with 54 or 5,900 for mechanical.
For something like writing, you wouldn't notice the difference.
I know the main thing is pictures. I mean music because
Yeah, yeah.
pictures and writing. I know it's the thing I'm curious about is
Well,
music.
the video would be the thing that would be the deal breaker with slower drive speeds. But
Hmm.
basically, if you if you're not trying to save holograms, you
Hmm.
could probably get away with a with a slower drive for most anything that doesn't involve video.
Yeah.
I mean, for word processing, you could work on a cell phone.
I
The
realize that, but
the problem is the screen isn't big enough to see what you're doing
yeah.
most of the time.
And the thing that, like I said, I want to be able to not have to wait all day to pull up a song from my storage on it.
Hmm.
And I might like to do a little bit of video editing, but I'm trying. I mean, I'm not like doing work that I'm getting extra income from. So,
Hmm.
but I can get 72 RPMs for NAS drives. I don't know if I need network attached storage not drives or not though.
Um,
And most of them that are 7,200 RPMs at your bigger capacities are NAS drives.
you know, I get by with what what qualifies as antiques now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I started buying external drives decades ago,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, occasionally I have had a drive fail. Thankfully, I have backups of the data.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the drive failed, I've still got the stuff on another drive, and I can pull that hard drive out of the enclosure,
Mm-hmm.
put in a brand new state of the art hard drive that's just using
Mm-hmm.
the power and the actual connection to be plugged into the computer, and boom, I'm back in action with something that's basically a brand new blank hard drive, and
Mm-hmm.
I I
Like I
I,
said, I did a pretty
I
good.
really wish that I had a handheld camera right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got 30 terabytes of storage here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all external drives
Mm-hmm.
or a separate cabinet. I've got one sitting here that has 5 different hard drives plugged into.
Mm-hmm.
Flip one switch, and I can access all 5 of them.
Yeah.
Trouble is, there is a limit to how many USB ports you can use at one time.
Yeah.
And when you exceed that limit, you can turn on all the external drives you
Mm-hmm.
want, only the ones that were operating up till you reach that limit will be accessible. You've got to
Yeah.
turn some of the others off. Um,
So those are my really only hangups right now is waiting for a video card that I can live with. I don't have to have the latest and greatest, but I would like something relatively recent and like within a year or two of being top of the line. So I've got something that's going to last for a little while.
I
Like
would,
I would be perfectly happy with a 20 Nvidia 2060 or 2070 or 2080, and the latest thing they've got is the 3090.
I'll tell you one thing right now. Western Digital has.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one right here. It's a 10 terabyte
Mm-hmm.
external drive. They have come out with a 14 terabyte external
Mm-hmm.
drive. since I bought this one.
Yeah.
I have been making great use out of thumb drives you can get at grocery stores.
Mhm.
And the nice thing about that is, if they're good when you get them,
Mhm.
they're going to be good for a long time
Yeah.
up until they're not anymore.
Yeah.
I have had three thumb drives fail in the
Mhm.
last 15 years. That's it. And I've got 15 or 20 of them plugged up right now. They don't get used a lot, but the
That's
ones
one.
used the most uh, are the ones that I put stuff on. Okay, this one is going to go in my pocket, and I'm going to carry it around, and I'll
Mhm.
use it on any computer I walk up to, whether it's at work or at home or this, that, and the other thing.
Mhm.
If I want to edit this or do that, or you know, uh, the ones that get the most read write time,
Mhm.
the most uh, save save file time,
Mhm.
basically determines whether or not it's going to be something that's still working 15 years from now, or something that's going to die because you
Mhm.
either save it or you made the mistake of having it optimized
Mhm.
every day as your computer shuts off, if you ever shut off your computer.
Yeah, I don't leave mine running. Um, that's just when I'm done with it, I turn it off. That way, I don't have anybody trying to gain access through it being connected to the live internet and all that stuff. I'm enough paranoid about stuff of that nature to do that.
I used to. I used to, and it wasn't because I was paranoid. I just didn't want I didn't want the hard drive spinning all the time.
Well, that too.
They will spin down and go to sleep if you're not using them after a while.
Hmm.
That's standard. But my desktop, it stays on for years at a time unless there's a
Hmm.
power outage. Um, the streaming computer, um, I turn it off Sunday. I turn
Hmm.
it back on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what, if I expect to be on a show
Hmm.
Wednesday, or I wait till stupid o'clock is due that Thursday night. The main reason is that I do turn it off is
Yeah.
I'm not using it unless I'm going to write another piece of music, which is, this is the computer I've got my music program on now,
Hmm.
because it's the fastest thing I own, and the music program now requires a lot of processing power, which this thing does have.
Yeah.
Uh, I would just go ahead and I shut it off just to save another couple of pennies on the electric bill.
Hmm.
The other one, I was told a long time ago,
Hmm.
and I hope it's still accurate, that basically the on off button will wear out before your hard drive goes dead, just from
Hmm.
being on all the time.
Hmm.
You can wind up having to replace the power switch before you have to replace the hard drive if you turn it off
Hmm.
every day, is what I was told. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know how accurate that is, but I was told that by a sysadmin. So I'm going,
Wow.
he knows a little bit more than I do, so I'll take his word for it this time. It might require a grain of salt or so, but, you know, um, dude's never led me astray before. But nowadays, most of the time,
Hmm.
you don't even have to turn the monitor off to keep it from getting a burn in. The
Yeah.
the new monitors supposedly don't do that. I still go ahead and turn the monitor off because it
Yeah.
uses as much power as a light bulb, and I go, if I'm going to be asleep, I don't need to be spending light bulb money all night long when I'm not here.
Yeah.
You know, no, that That does not include the time that I sleep in the chair without knowing that I'm asleep.
uh,
Oh,
Speaking
but
of, Steph is starting to zone out over here.
sorry,
I
didn't mean to.
women, I'm
No,
sorry.
no. That has nothing to do with the current company at all. I was listening and enjoying the conversation. I'm just realizing that I have spent all oopsie.
Yeah.
You okay?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. It's just I let my legs down a little bit and it slid off because I'm in
Oh,
a
okay.
slightly raised position.
I thought you were drinking
It,
that.
it was a laptop that went flying. It wasn't me.
I for a minute there, I thought you'd been drinking that hard water again. Um,
No, I had a shot of Johnny Walker Red a little bit earlier, but that's all I did.
I haven't
oh,
even had that. I've just been drinking water all day.
Yeah. Well,
No,
you
I'm
can
just,
have the
I've just,
Stone water.
I just, I've been face down in the editing for so long that I'm just kind of starting to.
I I
oh,
totally understand, and like I said, I'm just glad you joined in. And like I said, hopefully one Saturday night we can get you and Zach on Stupid O'clock together, and y'all can talk space stuff.
yeah, y'all can talk rockets, and the rest of us will sit there and go, "Wish I
What?
understood
We
half."
actually know these people.
Yeah, I've got their autograph.
I bought her books. I know a Canadian that got a sunburn in February.
Did I leave a review on the last one yet, Stephanie? I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
I
Let me
meant
let me go
to.
look. Let me go look.
I just finished it. Might have been Monday.
And
I loved it.
okay,
Um,
I have not been through as many of her books as I would like to, but every one that
it,
I have thoroughly enjoyed.
no,
it
there's
was
only one written review out there for it right now. There's six ratings, all 5 stars.
Wait.
well. I will get on that hopefully tomorrow
Okay.
if I don't have a sudden lapse of reason. Um, nah, um,
I'll try and send you a reminder if I think about it.
please do because I need all the reminders I can.
Well,
When I have my excuses. I have been writing lately, and when I get face down in a manuscript, I do not want to come up for air. I really don't. I
I totally
regret every
understand.
time I've got to get up and go to the fridge for another drink, or get up and go to the bathroom to get rid of another drink. It's one of those things. But
It's okay, Dan. I'm used to have to reminding Joe about stuff.
let me show y'all my calendar app for the month of February.
I saw this Thursday. You
Yeah,
you will be. I mean, yeah.
yeah. You have every reason to do what you need to do and not worry about these shows. We're just
Well, no,
happy anytime you want to participate.
I enjoy the shows, so and it helps me because it feels like I'm in a room with chatting with friends, you know.
Yeah, you are my
So
friends.
You are.
virtually,
Yes.
but and so tonight when I realized "Nope, I've had enough of the editing and stuff, that I sat here and I was like, well, I could go to bed early. I'm not sleepy,
Hmm.
and I started in having panic attacks last night when I
Oh,
tried to go to crash because I've just got so much that I'm trying to get done, and so I decided no, I don't want to go to bed early, and then I was like, oh, looked at the clock, yeah, Last Man Standing is just starting. I'll go do that. So I took a few minutes to get myself together and whatnot, and then I came on
Yeah.
in.
Well, I had to get the right link posted in the notifications because Joe shared the same.
Joe Dog shared the
Oh,
same link as Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing.
oh, okay.
So I'm like, because
And
I'll
it,
leave one up and I'll start another tab and do the other one. I'm like, this is the same screen I got on. He
Uh
sent the
oh.
same thing, and I had to send a message. This is the same link.
yep. The
And
the
Dan took care of it. Dan's my hero.
because I habitually open both shows in different tabs on the same computer. The name balloons
Hmm.
are different between the two shows. So I think Joe Dogs has a little red line on the left hand side of the name balloons, and they may actually be square rather than rounded like mine are, which is not a big deal. Joe and I have different um, aesthetic opinions.
And tendencies.
Sensibilities. Different
That's
aesthetic sensibilities.
There we go. What he likes is not necessarily the same thing that I would like. Um,
Yeah. Just like him trying to get people to give him pickled eggs.
I
Mm,
was an unwitting accomplice. I didn't participate. I just giggled a lot.
John was the one egging that on because he knew I was not going to be happy about that.
Egging is the word, yes.
what's the deal?
Yes, I included the pun. It was intended.
I'm going to regret this, but what's the deal with pickled eggs?
Um,
It
Joe,
increases Joe's natural methane production.
mhm.
That's kind of what I suspected. Okay.
Joe has
Yeah.
a digestive peculiarity.
All I can say is that I envy that particular peculiarity because I don't handle that well at all.
Oh, believe me,
He revels in it.
Joe Dog can drink a glass of water and produce epic amounts of fossil fuels.
Yes. Joe
It's
produces so much methane, it's a wonder he wasn't bred on Uranus.
He really needs a license, but how do you collect it? I mean, seriously, it's like uh, you gonna put a big balloon over a cow pasture or something and
I
try to
don't.
collect all. I mean, seriously, he could
I,
be a natural resource that could save the world, but where are you going to stick the hose?
I worry about him being near Grillzilla when they fire up the grill.
I think fire up is the operating term here. Yeah,
He might take off and go back to Hickson.
rocket propelled and that. Yes.
well, I mean, methane
Methane fueled.
is what Elon Musk is using, isn't it?
Yep. That's
Okay.
one of the reasons why you think Joe's such a fan.
Yeah, they're both. Oh shit, no, it's not late enough. It's not the green room. I can't say that. Uh, but I can think it real loud, so y'all might get the idea. They're both full of something. Uh,
Joe's full of hot gas. I don't know about Elon.
hey, there's peas in a pod. This is definitely peas in a space
Um,
pod, really.
oh man.
Well, uh,
I don't know why my brain does this to everybody, but I'm sorry. Yeah, God bless the little
And
pygmies.
that's because y'all heard me give Joe hard enough time about his propensity for methane production, especially when he lacks additional fuel to further along.
Hey, we can always remind him that he needs a wheelchair to get back to his room at Hallowcon on Sunday night. I mean,
Well,
If I let him have that much,
give him,
then
give
again,
him, give him,
It's not that he needs a wheelchair; he needs a wheelbarrow, basically.
give him a wheelchair. Feed him enough pickled eggs. Aim him in the right direction, and let go of the wheelchair.
It'll be like
yeah, but
Bonsai's jet car. Let me tell you.
there's a
Without
another consideration to think about, though.
oh Lord,
I do not want Donna trying to hurt me for feeding him pickled eggs and fueling the fire.
that's why you blame John.
Good
Well,
idea.
it's kind of like
Great idea.
the
But
the
John
the
runs
joke
away.
the joke I put in one of my Division 1 books about um, Fox, Director Fox, when he was working for the Galactic President as his chief bodyguard, feeding him Brussels sprouts right before he had to go into a spacesuit to do a negotiation with an alien species.
Mhm,
Hmm.
mhm.
So, and then of course he had white. He was a reptilian race with white scales, and he turned green. Well, he was stuck in the
Oh,
spacesuit with his own
Mhm.
fumes.
oh man, Stephanie,
They,
you just give me a
they
great
don't
idea to tell
use fart
somebody.
incubators for nothing.
Do what, Dan?
They don't call spacesuits fart incubators for nothing.
Nope. Okay, Chris, what did you come up with?
Oh, I gotta talk this over with Mark, but he had the idea for Joe, and I got an idea for him to add to that idea.
Oh, it's getting geometrical here.
Yeah, but like I
That's
said,
what really-
I want to go over it with Mark before anything definite's done. But
This is a definite escalation of hostilities. I can tell without even knowing what it is. Just the look on your innocent little face.
well,
Well,
as much as Joe gives me a hard time about some things, paybacks are hell sometimes, and sometimes they're a bitch.
I,
I do know for a fact that that sort of thing did result in aromatic spacesuits. And from what I gather, they kind of, whenever the shuttle would come down,
Hmm.
they kind of had to let it air out a little bit once they opened the hatch.
That will make sense. I'm guessing the changes in air pressure between
Probably,
mm,
yeah.
beyond the atmospheric orbit and coming back down. I'm guessing that would influence the
Well,
internal pressures in the system as well.
especially if they were going to have an EVA, because
Hmm.
they have to slowly depressurize the cabin
Hmm.
because the spacesuits don't pressurize to the same level as the cabin can.
Yeah.
So they had to do a slow depressurization and
Hmm.
then a slow build back up. So after the EVA was over. So
That's, I guess, sort of along the lines of if somebody's in a diving capsule, they have to
the
bring
or
them
they
up
yeah,
or you
again,
slower
get
and
or
slower.
you get the bends, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, now that you mention it, that pressure differential, oh, that gives me cramps just thinking about it. Doggone.
Yeah.
oh,
I guess
and,
that's one of the reasons why they undergo such rigorous physical training to prepare for.
Hmm.
and in the fictional versions that have been filmed, some of those pilots would pretty much perform maneuvers that would leave a spot on the front seat of any vehicle.
Lord, could you imagine if they figured out a way to hook up Joe's additional propane to the fuel mechanisms in a spacesuit, how far each slingshot?
We'd pretty much be able to get to Alpha Centauri in about a week.
I was just
Continuous
thinking he,
acceleration.
Yes, really.
I was just thinking of him circling around the moon so really fast, like somebody slow me down. It's like you're the one that wanted pig legs, buddy.
More fuel for the fire.
Oh,
So
we went from
yeah, we went way out in the left field and then got
we
evicted.
we went from editorial discussion to fart jokes.
It, but
Joe approves, I'm sure.
erudite for it jokes.
True.
Oh man.
Our vocabulary is better.
Well,
than
he loves farts.
some locker room discussions, but
He loves farts and he loves fart jokes.
a man of simple pleasures.
Yeah.
That should have been a song in Oh Brother Where Art Thou? Along with the Constant Sorrows, it should have been another one about simple
Well, Constant Sorrows is the person around him having to deal with the after effects.
I'm sorry, I'm doing a George Gorshin and Frank Gorshin impression here.
Yeah.
See, his Riddler had one of the neatest laughs ever, but I find myself imitating it quite often involuntarily.
Well, he has one of the most unique laughs. Cesar Romero as Joker had one of the most unique laughs. And Burt Reynolds as the Bandit had one of the most distinctive laughs. So there's a little bit of movie and TV commentary.
Trivia is our business.
Oh, yeah, we're quite good at it.
Yeah,
I always liked John Aston played the Riddler too, but I never
Yes.
really cared for his version of the Riddler. He wasn't. Frank Gorshin was scary crazy,
yeah.
and so far over the top that he was scary, and John Aston was not.
John
No.
Aston is funny.
John Aston was
Scary.
realistically scary.
Yeah, true.
As a sociopath. I'm not saying he was a sociopath, but he played the character as a very realistic sociopath.
Yeah.
But I loved him as Gomez, especially when he get that big idea and his eyes would get wide and that grin would get big. You know, especially that meme that's going around. Just because it's a bad idea doesn't mean it won't be fun.
Another piece of trivia: Frank Gorshin was on Star Trek.
Yes,
The
the
original
episode
series.
with the
I think
Let
was
that
Let
be
That
your
Be Your Last Battlefield.
And John Aston was on Night Court as Harry Stone's father.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I loved him on that.
Sometimes I wonder what happened to the armadillo that Harry had on his bookshelf. That's a prop that I have not seen reused, and Hollywood is really good about reusing stuff. So
Yeah, I don't
it's
know.
going to turn up sooner or later.
If I will get you 10, he took it home with him.
That would
That
not
does happen
surprise me.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You'd be surprised at the
Now I'm thinking about
that have gone missing from Doctor Who sets over the years.
now I'm thinking about Brent Spiner on Night Court.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God,
Forgot about
so
that.
funny.
Your Honor, it happened this way.
Oh my God, it was so funny. I'll be right back.
It was several times they did that they got to do that family with the worst luck in the world. I swear I was having flashbacks to Mayberry on that. If Ernest T. Bass had showed up, I would not have batted an eye.
You know, I could see a crossover.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking a couple of weeks ago about oh shoot, what was it? Green Acres and Petticoat Junction and stuff. And you know, I can see where Night Court might be a more modern version. Yeah, same universe. So
That would explain Bull.
it
Really.
would actually, yes. Point.
And Marcia, for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could definitely be related to Aunt B with a more take no shit attitude, but still as resourceful and as cunning. Because Aunt B was not stupid.
No.
She was traditional, but not totally locked into all of the restrictions of the time that women of her age were subject to in more uneducated environments. Wow, I actually tap danced my way out of that minefield. Oh, heavens.
You okay?
Yeah, let me go to the phone quick. It's just a couple of steps away.
Okay. That leaves me alone on the screen. Oh boy. All right. Um, don't know if anybody's out there, but hey, yeah, hi. Um, things have been kind of crazy, but I'm doing all right. So, um,
It's amazing how quick I get dehydrated while I'm talking all the damn
yeah,
time. It's something that I have been actually observing a lot during the mandatory masking for the present unpleasantness. Uh, for some strange reason, that dehydrates me even quicker than just normal life without the
hmm
mask. And I would, just off the top of my head, I would say it should be exactly the opposite, but
Yeah.
it's not. So I don't know exactly what physiology is involved in the uh, dehydration when your face is covered. But I'm sure there's a sound biological reason for that sort of effect. Don't know what it would be, but I'm sure it actually exists somewhere outside of my imagination. So, uh,
yeah. I had similar problems, and I also had I had to clean my face as soon as I removed the mask. I used
Yeah.
to keep special facial wipes, moist wipes, in my car. So when I
mm,
Yeah.
took off the mask, I would wipe my face down really well. Otherwise, my face would go crazy breaking out.
hmm yep. Uh,
Um, I don't mind wearing them in the winter that much, but summertime, oh god, it's chore trying to wear them.
Stifling.
well, I don't
And
have
I
a
won't put them on till I'm about to go in the store.
mm, in the
Uh,
factory. It unless I am in one of those nice situations where I'm socially distant by
mm,
20, 30 yards to the next
yeah,
closest human being. Um, we we pretty much have to wear them every time and all the time. We're not actually sitting in the break room eating,
yeah,
and I would smart ass me, I would joke about the magic antiviral break room field where you could eat in a room of 50
Mhm.
people and not have to wear your mask. But
Well,
you know,
they only let one of us sit at each table
they had
when we
they
go
had
to lunch.
they had put up plexiglass screens between the ends of the table right there in the middle, and it
Hmm.
changed a four-person table to a two-person table.
Hmm.
But now they are rebuilding the break room, and we have a temporary break room, which is the contractor and new hire training room where they sit and watch very boring videos about the factory and the rules that
Yeah.
the company is supposed to abide by, and the contractors definitely have to abide by it, even though the company doesn't pay
Yeah.
attention to it when it's dim. But that's neither here nor there.
And
Uh,
let me guess, they're narrated by someone with a nearly monotonous voice that will put you to sleep if you're not careful.
um, most of the time, yes, most of the time. You really need a shot of adrenaline before each video begins, or at least a good strong cup of coffee.
Oh
Uh,
man, I had this professor of English 102 at my freshman, towards the end of my freshman year of college, and had a class at 11 o'clock in the day. And it was during spring, so it was getting close to summer, and it was really hot. And she was in the coldest room in the entire building,
yes.
and she had a very monotonous voice. And I remember one day it was particularly miserable outside, and I am, you know, being comforted by this cool air because I've been very hot walking outside to get to class. And and I am got my fist on my head trying to stay awake. And I'm doing a good job for the most part, but I'm getting close to shutting. And she put some emphasis on a word, and I'm just like, and I'm trying not to spring my head up, and it's almost it was almost funny, and I'm just like, oh my god, I about had a heart attack.
Believe me, there was one of the better, more knowledgeable art professors at University of Georgia, and that takes some doing because all the art professors at the University of Georgia are really, really top notch. But
Mm-hmm.
this guy had not modulated his voice since 1943.
Wow.
I mean, it was monotone every day,
Yeah.
the same pitch, the same note. You could have tuned a musical instrument to that.
Well, I like this professor that I was speaking of,
I
and
like this guy, but
she was very pleasant, but
practically nobody could stay awake in his class. It's
she
like,
had this very demure voice that was so monotone that, like I said, if it was a really hot day outside and you were out in it and you were walking to class and you got in that meat locker of a
mm,
classroom, it was a chore to stay awake on some days. And that's
now,
even if you like the material and you like the subject matter and you like the professor.
that was a contrast to my figure drawing professor, who was like almost like Professor Challenger.
Hmm.
I mean, he was way out there, just so much larger than life. He needed a separate building, you know. And
But
this
that
was
had to have been a fun class.
oh hey, this was a figure drawing class. So I don't know about air conditioning, but I'm 19 in a figure drawing class in a
Hmm.
college. with all that entails.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Some nice models.
I'm being graded on how well I represent some of these models of transferring their image to paper, and there were more than a few that were highly distracting,
Yep. Wow, it is 301.
especially for a very young man. And it turns out one of the male models,
Mm-hmm.
his sister was in the class, so she's having to draw her brother.
Oh, wow.
Starkers. Have a
And
look at
she,
the clock, guys.
Yeah, I saw it.
oh Lord, yeah, 2 minutes over. Well, that's better than staying up till 5 a.m. Well, that might happen anyway.
Yeah. It
All
was
right.
6 a.m. and I don't have that in me tonight.
I don't either. I really don't.
That makes
And
three of us. That's
I'm very
nice.
sorry because, time spent with y'all is time well spent. And
It
Agreed.
is.
for those of you who are watching on the replay, because I know there's nobody here live right now, I can see the big zero there.
Hmm.
Joe Dog took all our audience with him when he went to bed. Uh,
No, actually, you had Carol there for a while.
yeah, that's true. Carol, yeah, that was totally unexpected and very, very welcome. Carol is uh, one of those friends that I am used to in text only,
Mm-hmm.
and it was thus in this case, but it's very nice because she has not been um, appearing in the mailing list or the monthly chats very often over the past few years, and it's been longer than the last two. But that was really wonderful to see her
Mm-hmm.
once again.
Unexpected
So
surprises are usually nice.
yes, usually
Not always.
sometimes they're just unexpected.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody want to drop any links to anything or whatever before we close up shop? I mean, uh, you
Nothing at the moment.
you know who we are. You can Google us if you're really interested. If we write something, we're on Amazon. If we do conventions, we're on the convention website. It's we are what we are.
Yep. Yep.
Crickets. Crickets.
You pretty well said it. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephanie is an author and rocket scientist extraordinaire, retired,
Retired. But
and
not from the
Dan,
writing. Just from the rocket
yeah,
side.
the rocket scientist part. Yeah, the Dan is the editor in chief of Aphelion Webzine, author and worker of products to help improve the lives of others.
That makes me sound a whole lot more important than I actually am. But yes, it is true.
And
Uh,
I'm just lucky enough to be friends with both of them and happen to know a few people.
hey, and without you, Hallowcon would not run as smoothly as it does. You are one of those powers behind the throne in the convention circuit, and you don't get enough credit for what you do. But what you do is very important.
Yeah. I
And
just try and help make things as enjoyable and as fun as possible and try and make sure it's as smooth sailing as we can manage it.
hey, that is the mark of a true gentleman. So,
And to quote Tyrion Lannister, I drink and I know a few things.
whereas I just drink, I don't know shit.
That's not true.
I
We're
just kind of
purveyors
know
of
a few things.
trivia.
I just kind of know a few things.
You know a lot of few things. We are purveyors of trivia and knowledge. Some of it useful, some of it not, but most of it entertaining.
and all of it unexpected when we start talking on the show, because
It
not
can
even
go
we know
anywhere.
what we're going to say next.
That's what makes it fun.
Unpredictable topic drift.
That's
Yes,
what
these are
makes
our
it fun and
words.
interesting.
All right, and thank you very much for making this show very interesting. And good night to both of you.
Yep.
Uh, let's just let me see if I can. Where did it go? Where did it go? I have to find the. There's so many things to click on. All right, and for anybody out there that's never seen the end credits before,
It's a hoot.
Yep, definitely. I
it's
sit and
it's
watch
one
them
of
just
those
about every time.
things. It's one of those things where if you actually know the in jokes, you're gonna roll on the floor. If you don't, you're gonna giggle anyway. Um, Thank you very much, everybody. Good night.
Good night.